Hello everybody, Iain Robson here, and welcome back to Chellington Farm. Alright, what comes going on today? If you recall from the previous episode, we cut all this grass right here, and now it's all right there. We progressed time one day. It looks like the grass is half grown already. Anyways, as you can see, come over here, we now have silage in this silage bale, and this one bale apparently is worth $1,338. So, as I mentioned last time, what we're going to do with the bale is we're going to go ahead and feed that to our cows. Ah, yes, that's what I did. There we go. We're going to go ahead and feed it to our cows, and that should give us some good productivity, because I think right now they don't have as much productivity as we would like, because they only had straw, right? Oh, that's why. That would probably help. Alright, perfect. Let's go give this to our cows. And I believe it's in the same spot as it was before. So let's go ahead and do that. Excuse me, cow. Let's just see if this is indeed the right spot for it. It may not be. It may have to be in the middle. But I'm not sure here. No. Looks like it needs to be a bit more in the middle here. So let's go and see if this is the right spot to spread the bale. Yes, there we go. So if we bring up the information about the cows, which should be at the end here. So they have a little bit of straw left still. We have a little bit of milk being produced, which is good. They're at zero productivity apparently. But when we feed them this bale of silage, because we only have 10 cows, you can just feed it manually, technically. So now they have 3,968 liters of silage, which is good. So, as I mentioned, one of the other steps we want to do is get some dry grass so that we can make some TMR for our cows. Excellent. There we go. Let's park this guy over here for the time being. Put the hydraulics down. There we go. Turn this off. Alright. So as you can see, as I mentioned, we mowed this grass, and I only progressed time one day, and it was already at the night by the time I finished with a couple other things. So it looks like the grass is half grown already. All right, so we have this crone rake. Remember, this was the one we picked up last episode, or at the end of last episode, $25,000. One of the ones from the mod contest. Really like it so far. Very cool. So let's go ahead and fire up this tractor right here, like so. And lower it down. I think it's already lowered. Yeah, there we go. And let's turn it on. Nice. Very nice. Now, there is a function on this. There is a function where you can border spreading control. So if you want to change the direction, it looks like. So if I just press J, you can see how it kind of, let's see if I can get it close in there. J and N. Nope. So see how that changes the direction there? And that will kind of change the way it gets pulled behind you. So if I change it, and if I just pull this, you see how it gets changed there a little bit? And vice versa. So if I were to adjust it the other way, it would do the same thing basically. So anyways, let's get this started. So that's how that kind of works. You can adjust it a little bit. I don't see the advantage of it personally, but I suppose in real life there is an advantage to doing that. So, very nice little, very nice compact little tedder. I really like it for that, because what happens is it can get through some really close, kind of tight areas where if you had a different type of tedder, it might be a bit more difficult. Like if you had the one that goes on a 3-point hitch, for example, that might be a bit more difficult, just because how high it is. Like if you're going under a bridge, for example, it seems like the bridges on this particular map are non-collidable. So if you drive underneath a bridge and you have, like, let's say the front loaders pointed straight up, and they could actually hit the top of the bridge, nothing will happen basically. So, and I believe that's due to design. I don't think it was. I think it was just kind of a consideration, because what happens is if you try to drive a a combine harvester underneath some of the bridges and you hit them, it's not a pretty sight. So one of the things that was considered when this map was made, and I have to give props to Oxygen David, one of the creators of the map, who incorporates things like that into the map, because that makes this map a very enjoyable map to play. So despite the fact that it's a British map, which I'm not always enthusiastic about playing, because they tend to be a bit more difficult when it comes to dealing with corners and fences and stuff like that. But sometimes you find maps that kind of that will kind of bridge the gap a little bit for people like me who don't play a lot of tighter maps with collidable objects everywhere. I still like the look of a lot of British maps. I just don't enjoy playing them as much all the time, because some of them are, every time you walk away from, like, let's say a hard worker or a course player or whatever, even if you're manually doing it, sometimes if you just don't pay attention for a split second, you find yourself stuck somewhere, and spend the next 20 minutes, and I don't know, it's not always an enjoyable experience. But every now and then you have a map creator that comes along that creates a nice looking map as well as enjoyable to play on. So really, Oxygen David did a really good job on this map, so I'm digging it. I'm enjoying it a lot more than I thought I was going to, honestly. And perhaps it's just the way I'm playing is very different than I normally do, so it could be any number of things, really. So I do like this tractor too. I love how it shows the in-game time. So as you can see, it's 1:15 in-game, so kind of a neat little addition that they added in this particular tractor. I don't think the actual indicators down there work. Like, I mean, this stuff right here in the little screen. It might work, I don't know for sure though. Alright, nice. And it actually turns nice too. Sometimes what happens is when you have tedders, some tedders don't work very nicely when it comes to turning, because what will happen is they'll slide a little bit faster than they should, and that can create problems because it slides more than it actually teds. But this one seems to do a good job of taking turns as well, and I think that's because it's a trailed one, not on the back of the tractor itself on a 3-point hitch. So that's very cool. Alright, so what we're going to do is going to finish up tedding all of this right here, and then we'll make it into some, there we go, some dry hay basically for our cows, because once we bring them up to 100%, that'll give us a little bit of extra money every single day. Another thing we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to pick up some sheep this time soon as well, because we have a little bit of extra money right now from the contractors. We sold a little bit of our grain, if you remember from last time, so this is allowing us to get some sheep, which is just around the corner there. So, and also with the dry hay, we'll be able to feed the sheep with that as well. So that's the other added benefit of doing this, which is good for us. Alright, get the last little section there. Alright, so I will be back in a moment when this is all done. Alright, just finishing up the last little pass here. So you can get this a little bit lined up, and then we'll go from there. Actually, it took a little bit, it's kind of such an odd shape of field that you end up kind of just circling around and end up tedding places that you've already tedded before. So it does slide a little bit the faster you take the turn. It's not too bad, but there we go. Turn that off. Fold it up. Very nice. That's a cool little folding action too. And look how high, look how tall it is. It's like just the same height as the tractor. And that's the thing I think is really neat about this little tedder. Well, it's not little tedder. It's actually like 11 meters if memory serves. So it works really well for going like underneath some places, and storage makes it really nice for storage as well, because you can just stick it anywhere you need to, basically, for storage purposes. So like if you want to put it in a smaller shed like this right here, it's not a problem. because the way it folds up is nice and compact. There we go. Yep. I say that now, and watch how problems being parked in there. Oof, there we go. Perfect. Let's grab the rake, which is just over here. I think it's right behind the wrapper, which we don't need to wrap these bales, so we'll just move that out of the way for the time being. And what we'll do is we'll put it right beside the tether, or on the other side of it, I should say. And that should keep it out of the way. Alright. There we go. Oh, is it gonna fit? Just barely. There we go. Alright, now let's grab the rake, and it'll be a quick little process with this rake. This is a massive rake for a little tiny area right now, so I think this is a bit overkill for this little area, but for that field 18 that we did down the bottom, totally was not overkill. Fit perfectly. Because that field's actually a lot larger than you would expect, when you look at it at least. Alright. We can actually go through here to get to our field 2, I realized. Which I think is really cool. It's a little bit bumpy, as you can see. A little bit bumpy. It kind of moves your tractor around just a tinsy-wincy bit. But it can work well. Alright, let's unfold this guy. And we'll get positioned here. And what we'll do is we'll go east. I think this will be east-west, actually. We'll go this way first, and then we'll come back and we'll do a headland around here. And that should probably work fairly well, I imagine. So, we'll be able to make some dry grass with this, which is really good, or dry hay. And that will allow us, of course, to make some TMR eventually, which means we need to get a TMR mixer. And I think, if memory serves, the cheapest one we can get is this guy, which is 40 grand. Not impossible. Maybe a bit more than I'd like to spend at the moment, but definitely doable. Alright, raise those up. Take a little turn here. Lower them back down. I'm sure I'll get flack for the way I'm doing this. It's funny, there's always a better way to do it. No matter how many times I try to get it right. Everyone's got to have their own point of view, which is, you know, some people would say you shouldn't, you should do a headland first. And there are people like, well, I should do a headland after, and I don't know. You're gonna be running over it one way or another. That's how I always look at it. So, just depends on how big your headland is and how good you are at maneuvering one of these huge rakes. As you can see, this is actually taking no time at all, just because of the size of the rake itself. I think it's actually like a 13 meter, well, maybe it's more than that actually, maybe 15. Actually, it's even more than that. They're gonna double check now. So we have, oh, it's only 12 meters. So we could have gone with the 19 meter Crone Squadro, I think it's called, or the Crone one. But that really would have been a lot of overkill on this map. Like, could you imagine trying to truck that thing around some of these areas? I think for most part it'd be fine. But I'm fairly certain there would be a couple areas where you'd have a hard time. Specifically going underneath some of the bridges, I think. Some of the bridges are a little bit on the narrow side. So, it would make quite a big difference to have that. Although apparently in England, it's more common to see, this is a size you'd probably see with contractors, not actual farmers. The smallest 2-rake one is apparently what people were saying, so you'd see more likely with farmers themselves, which is understandable, really. See if I can do this in cab. It's a little bit more difficult. Not impossible, but yeah, definitely a little bit more. I don't find it as efficient because you're constantly doing this and be like, oh, is that close? Is that close? That's what I find, at least. See, you start missing bits and bobs. Alright, nice little turn here. I don't know, it's it always amazes me how many different ways you can do the same thing. Like, no matter how many times you do something, you try something different, there's always a better way. And that's one of the interesting parts about farming specifically, because there's always a better way to do something, and that's one of the things that's always interested me about farmers and how innovative they are in terms of different things. For example, you know, they need a tool that does something specific, so they just make one. I'm gonna have to back up here. So they just make one, which has always been like, really? They're just gonna make it, and that's how they're gonna fix this problem. And sometimes that's the way it is. They'll just make something that solves their problem, and it's always pretty impressive when you see what they're able to do. Sometimes I'm just gonna get this little part down here because it's going to be annoying no matter which way I decide to do it. Alright, perfect. Let's finish this little part there. It looks like I could almost rake up that straw as well, but of course I can't, so I'm forced to just to do what I'm doing right now. So anyways, I'll be back in a moment when this is all done. Alright, just doing the headland up here, and that should be good. So what I'm going to try and do is get as much as I possibly can from the outside here. Oh, apparently I missed a bit up there. I got overzealous and I guess I jumped the gun here. So what I'll do is do this and get around the outside, and then we'll come back, and I think there'll be a little strip left, but that'll be fine. Depending on how much need you are, I suppose, in this scenario, will dictate how much you need to rake in, I guess, and all that jazz. So, all right, try and get all of this as much as possible, at least. There we go, perfect. Gotta love these rakes, man. I love I remember when I first saw Farming Simulator and the graphic they used for raking and tedding. I was just like, wow, that's awesome. Like, I couldn't believe how different it was from FS13. Like, they made leaps and bounds, is how I would describe it, in terms of some of the textures they decided to create and use. There we go. And then we'll just follow the headland here and just drive over that. And we'll get this last little bit over here. Perfect. Or at least try to get the last little bit. Nice. Yeah, so, like I said, this will give us the possibility of creating some TMR. Oh, there goes my phone. I apologize. Of creating some TMR for our cows, so that'll be good for them. Let's back up here a little bit, and this should be the last turn, I imagine. Yeah. If I try to do any more, I'm just gonna ruin it all. Just suppose this is what would happen. That would be what would happen in real life if you were to do something like that. There we go. Fold that up. I remember, actually, I saw one of the rakes that One Lonely Farmer got. The Heston rake, I think it is. The high-speed rake. I actually saw one of those in action not too long ago, and they're pretty impressive to watch. Like, you can... It seems like you can just rock it through the field with one of those without a problem. And because of the amount of material he actually creates, like, it makes perfect sense why you'd want to get something like that. Oh, looks like we're stuck here. There we go. One of the reasons to be careful about going through this area, I guess. There we go. No, we're still stuck here. Come on. There we go. note to self, be careful driving through that area again. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll get set up for baling, and I think what we'll do is we'll bale next episode. There we go. Let's adjust this. Park this back in the shed back there. And that'll be it for today. I think this is the neatest I've ever kept my equipment on a farm. There we go. Perfect. Detach, and let's grab the baler, which I believe is in the other shed over here. And we'll be good to go. Interestingly enough, one of the things that you got to consider with round bales specifically is if you try and store round bales too soon, there we go, after you bale them, what will happen actually is it could potentially catch on fire just due to the heat that's created in the bale itself. And it can be kind of scary if you have a barn fire actually. That's not uncommon in some places, so just going to go the long way around. It's a bit safer. Less chance of getting stuck as well. There we go. Although you do have these little areas right here. There we go. Perfect. So what we'll do is, next episode, we'll come around and we'll bale up all of this. Shouldn't be a crazy amount of bales, I don't imagine, but we'll probably have an extra few. A little bit of dry hay, which will be good for us. And then we'll go from there. So until next time, folks, my name's Iain Robson. This has been Farming Simulator 2015, coming at you from Chellington Farm. And if you enjoyed yourself, why don't you go ahead and hit that share button. I really appreciate that. Catch you guys later.